Gentleman from Oklahoma, the distinguished chairman of the Rules Committee, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I have to say that I respect the gentleman and I appreciate his remarks, his commitment to civility and decency and fairness, and I know that he wants this House to run better and reflect the will of the members. But quite frankly, I just don't believe what is happening in this chamber lives up to the standard that he has set. Last night, the Rules Committee met at 11 p.m. to advance a rule, not for the whole National Defense Authorization Act, which we were supposed to start debating today, but for part of the National Defense Authorization Act. And I get it. I've been in the majority before. I understand it's not always easy. But what's happening today on the floor, not knowing when we are coming back to finish the second rule for this bill, or what offensive amendments will be included, is not just weird, it's nuts. A small group of radical, hard-right members, the MAGA Circus I call them, is threatening to take down the NDAA rule unless they get their way. The unless they get their way part is really becoming a theme in this Congress. I don't envy the gentleman from Oklahoma because what he is dealing with is truly bizarre. The MAGA Circus wants to load up what could and should be a bipartisan bill that passes every single year. And they want to load it up with every single divisive social issue under the sun via the amendment process. Anti-abortion? Check. Anti-LGBTQ rights? Check. Anti-gun safety? Check. And it's not just that they're demanding it, it's that Republican leadership is probably caving. It's embarrassing, but quite frankly, it's not surprising. This is just the latest example of how Kevin McCarthy has ceded control of this body to the most extreme members of his own caucus while hanging everyone else out to dry and cutting mainstream members out of the process. Kevin McCarthy may be the ringmaster, Mr. Speaker, but the clowns have taken over the circus. This is a group of members that is so far to the right that they've now begun purging members from their own ranks for not being ideologically pure enough. It's honestly kind of scary. That's who's trying to write this year's defense bill. The party of single-issue bills wants to turn the NDAA into an anti-abortion, anti-LGBTQ bill that weighs in on every wedge issue and culture war, from guns to border and beyond. Give me a break. If they want to do a single-issue bill, get this stuff out of here and pass a bipartisan NDAA bill. And by the way, I just want to say, I find some of the amendments that have been introduced to this NDAA incredibly offensive. We have members saying they want to get woke out of the military, but they can't even define woke. Was desegregating the military woke? Was allowing women in combat roles woke? Was repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell woke? That's what I want to ask some of my colleagues, and I'm pretty sure what their answer would be. Mr. Speaker, why all the backroom dealing and negotiating with MAGA clowns? And by the way, I say that as somebody who has voted against the NDAA in the minority and in the majority, because quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of sending blank checks to the Pentagon while we nickel and dime programs that help everyday people. So I wish the Republicans luck in trying to solve this internal power struggle. But I have to say, I don't have a whole lot of faith that this is going to work out in a way that will be good for this country. And I don't think it will work out in a way that will be good for most people in this country. I mean, this is an example. I think when people are watching these proceedings and are seeing kind of the extortion that the MAGA Republicans are exacting from the current leadership, this is what I think people look at and say, this is what's wrong with Washington. And I say this with no disrespect to you, Mr. Chairman, who I think is an example of what is right in this place. But I will be voting no on this rule. I urge all my colleagues to vote no on this rule. And I hope and pray that my Republican friends can get their act together so we can actually start doing the people's business. And with that, I reserve the balance of my time.